everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of this episode. Thank you for following along with episode 1. Last episode I talked a lot about my season and what I've been up to this past couple months, and so now Sarah, I want to hear like what's going on. We've really worked so hard to not tell each other everything.
Yeah, I know, and that's hard because I have
Yeah.
a big mouth. Like I could yap forever. Most of these episodes involve so much cutting myself out. So. But it's okay.
It's
okay.
fine. This is all part of the fun of it.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
So yeah, I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Yeah, no. So for a little bit of reference, I don't think I've spoken on this, but I finished my college season in April of 2023. We're in 2023. Yeah,
Yeah.
But April 2023. Right after my senior night, I had a minor corrective knee surgery because we decided that it was going to be a problem later if I continued to play the sport. And I was thinking, okay, well, I definitely at least anticipate playing this sport for a while. So let's get it done now. And so I went through that rehab. It went super well. And then basically I entered my off season as soon as I came out of recovery. And that was my first pro off season. And that said, I went in with a lot of expectations of what I thought it was going to look like based off of what I think was, legitimate.
Right.
I obviously went in with the mindset of like for his glory, but this past season has really taught me about what playing for his glory means. And we talked about in the last episode about work ethic and its role in our walks as athletes in Christ. But essentially, I went into off season with like a list of goals, right? And my coach, who I love dearly, is he's a realist, you know, and he's also a big advocate of trust and a relationship between us. And when I started training with him, when I told him these goals initially, he kind of was like, that's not something you want to worry about. And I remember thinking in my head, I was like, okay, that was a little harsh, but okay.
Right.
But he didn't mean it in a degrading way.
Right.
As much as he meant, let's see how realistic compared to how hard you work. Okay. So I go through 6 months of off-season training. Our off-season is essentially, depending on your standings, like October to April. Like May, you start playing in those events that are really going to count towards your rankings. For reference, in beach volleyball, it goes by a point system, and you hold your points individually, and points are also weighted on the types of events you're playing in, So you could play in lower level events, kind of similar to how other pro sports work, like, baseball, you have single A, minor league, double A, triple A, and then you have like the league. And it's the same thing. But you, as an individual, you get to choose your partners, which is awesome. It's not like that in college. And you get to climb that ladder. And it's a very, very honest sport because you quite literally get out of it what you put in.
Right.
There's no... So if you're slacking, and something that I even am carrying into this off season this year is me and my coach agree, like I worked hard last off season, but I definitely got exactly out of it what I put in.
Okay.
I think I could have been a little more focused. I was still living in Miami.
Right.
I still was holding like college friendships that made it easy to not weigh the importance of what I needed to do and sacrifice to get to where I want to get. But lesson learned. So anyways, come May, I'm pumped. I'm like, I'm finally going to get to compete professionally. And this is going to be so cool. And my coach actually warned me months prior. He said, your rookie season is the hardest one on your soul. Okay. Like your third one is going to be your hardest physically and mentally, but I didn't know what he meant when he said that. And so, like I said, you get to choose your partners, okay?
Oh, yeah.
That means your partners can also choose you.
Right.
And being someone that didn't have much of a college career. College for me was a lot more building myself mentally and coming to a lot of revelations than it was improving in my game. But that said, once off-season training, I improved my game by like just not even steps, just like massive jumps.
And to be fair, like that's a testament to you because and the work you did put in because when I was in 2023, I was new to FIU, didn't really know who you were at that point, but you were always working. And I was like, I know Sarah, like we do Bible study together. I know she's on the volleyball team and she's always in the gym. Like this is like she's working hard for something, you know? And so it is something that I did take notice of and think, wow, like her work ethic, like she's not even in season right now and she's putting this work in.
Yeah.
You know?
I've always had this this kind of underdog mentality, and I said in the last episode, it's funny, volleyball was actually the first sport I ever hated, you know?
Right.
My parents, I was blessed, they put me in every sport growing up, and actually, when I first picked up a volleyball, I was not coordinated enough to play it. And that really frustrated me because I picked up other sports super easily. So I actually, like, I think that was like 9, 10. I was just like, nah, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sign up for it. And then come later with the people God placed in my path of life, I accidentally found out that I actually remembered what I was supposed to do, and now I was coordinated enough. I literally found out at like middle school recess, and one of the girls was like, oh, you should try it for the team. That was at 14, 15. So this story is relevant because, like I was saying, with the underdog mentality, I've always felt like I was at a race and I was super behind on what I needed to do for the sport that I really loved.
Because 14, 15, that's a late start. Yeah,
I actually didn't commit to playing beach volleyball till going into my senior year of high school. So it was actually that's a whole other God story that I committed to a Division I university.
Right.
And then transferred to a team that was ranked 11th in the nation. Right. You know, like God's hand was so present in all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to working in the off season, I was, you know, under the impression that like I'm just going to pour myself into this and then like, boom, like in May, like I'll pick up a partner. But so going back to I choose a partner, they have the option to choose me. I'm a nobody. And I knew that, but I also knew how much I've improved.
Right.
So that's where I fell into entitlement number 1, you know, and my coach literally, he's seen so much and he warned me so far in advance and he knew it was going to happen. But that didn't make it any less, you know, soul crushing in the moment. So May goes and I actually hit a wall in terms of improvement like that. I plateaued bad, and not because I wasn't working hard, but because I was losing my mind, you know, and then I was just trying to do so much and I'm asking around and, you know, I, you know, don't know.
It's like you were trying so hard to do everything yourself, like in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where I was going wrong. And like I was getting desperate to compete. And my coach had to remind me, he's like, hey, at your level, like you have a standard for yourself. Like you shouldn't just try and like play with just anyone, especially someone that might not be like as devoted to it as you have been. You want to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, you know? So May goes, losing my mind. June goes, still losing my mind. July hits, and in that time frame, I'm really starting, like I'm digging into the podcast and my ministry work to keep myself sane, which it did help. But July is when I finally realized, I was like, you are pursuing something from your own like construct, right? And I've always told myself, I was like, look, if God doesn't want me in this sport, then he'll show me. And he hasn't done anything to show me that. Right. So, you know what, I'm going to go back to the drawing board. Now it's middle of season and I have a whopping 0 points because after knee surgery, the points reset every year. So like it's been over a year since I've been able to compete, right? You know? Yeah. And I said, you know what, God, if I was supposed to like really accomplish anything like big this season, you would have let it happen. And I'm okay with it because it's your plan over mine. you know? And that was the first time I really like leaned into, okay, remember what you're doing this for. Remember who you're doing this for.
Right.
It is not about you, you know? And I think a part of me also was still holding some, I don't want to say like hate, but I was holding definitely some anger from what I experienced in college. In the back of my head, whether I meant to or not, like this is gonna be a comeback season. Like they're gonna see,
like,
you know, they're gonna
watch,
see.
like here I come.
Exactly. And so once I gave that up and I gave it to God, I entered July finally like improving again, and I'm just training, with correct purpose again because I know what I'm doing this for. And I came to terms with, I'm gonna try again next season, you know. And you know what? If I'm still a nobody, but I've just been training for 2 years straight, I'm like, I'm gonna excel, and people are gonna be like, where did you come from? I said, well, no one gave me a chance.
Right.
And then so August comes around. July was a good training month for me. August comes around, and there is a local, like lower level event.
Oh yeah, I remember you were saying this.
Yeah, and I was like, this if I could find someone to compete in this worthwhile, like, you know, get some competition in, okay? So I asked my partner, Courtney Moon, who I love playing with her, and I'll explain why in a sec, but I asked her to play in this, and she was down. And then leading up to it, no one was registered. And she was like, oh, should I come down if no one's registered? Because she lives up in Tampa.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, here we go again. Like another opportunity that I won't get to play in. And she goes, oh, well, it's because there's an AVP next event in Virginia. And I just like ask for funsies. Right. I'm like, well, what are the odds you want to play in Virginia?
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm down. And I'm like, you don't even know who I am. Like, I could suck.
Right.
So this is 4 days before, like, I bought my
this
plane
was crazy
ticket 4
because
days.
You called me like, hey, I wasn't going to go anywhere, but I booked a ticket. I was like, wait, this is cool.
Yeah. And so we book our flight, or I tell my coach, like, the next morning of practice, and he's, like, hiding how ecstatic he is. But he reminds me the next 3 practices, because we bought our tickets 4 days before the event. This is a great opportunity, and you're going to go out, like, you are a good player, Sarah, but don't go there scared to lose. Like he was saying, go out there and do exactly what you have been training to do, okay? And let the results show themselves. So I can't lie, like I was a little nervous. That first match actually went to 3 sets, and so into overtime, and solely because I was tense. But after that first win, in double elimination, I was like, that felt good.
Right. Yeah.
Like I still need to lose 2 more matches today to be eliminated from this tournament.
Right. Yeah.
We went in as the last seed because she also didn't have any points because she hadn't been competing because she was still playing in college. She finished 1 season after I did.
Okay. Yeah.
So we went in the last seed and we came out in 3rd place in this event. And I was so grateful. But immediately I fly back home and I'm like, let's get back to work. So we compete Saturday. I catch a red eye Sunday. I show up to practice on Monday. My body was so exhausted. Like I hit a wall. I couldn't do anything. And then I proceed to just break down mentally. Yeah. And my coach pulled me aside. He goes, did you even give yourself a chance to like be happy about this and be grateful about what just happened? You just went to like a good event, the last seed, and came out 3rd. Another instance where I was like, you need to remember what you're doing this for, Sarah. Yeah. You know, like as much as you want to, prove yourself, you shouldn't. You left that version of yourself in the past. You left your self-worth in this sport in the past. You get to do this.
Right. It's a privilege, and God has blessed you with this opportunity, but at the end of the day, we're just daughters of Christ, and we have an amazing opportunity.
I mean, that's when I realized, I'm like, not only am I not, taking in that moment, I didn't even thank him for the opportunity. And not only that, Courtney was also, an athlete in Christ,
Right.
which made this whole thing
Amazing.
like
Yeah.
so rich in
Right.
an experience. And I didn't thank God that she said yes, that she was just down to buy that plane ticket, that she trusted in me enough to do it, that God just paved that way. And so so I took some time to process that. Now, that doesn't mean I followed the next like few months great,
Yeah.
and so because of that event, I was no longer a nobody,
Right.
and I was getting opportunities to play left and right.
Right.
And my coach warned me. He said, it's about the people you surround yourself with. It's about like-mindedness and how much work you're putting into it. But I was getting into that rhythm of like, oh, this is fun, winning is fun, and blah, 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 blah. And so I started basically losing focus, and then I hit another plateau. And so my next event, it was a qualifier to do really well for another big event, and I put the weight on like, oh, but if I made that qualifier, I'd get to play in a stadium event. And I was like a nervous wreck. I was, producing bad habits, and I'm texting my coach like I'm like, what do I do? How do I adjust to this? How do I do that? And yada, yada, yada. And when I came back, I started like losing my mind again. And I had one more big event, another travel to South Carolina. And I had to have a meeting with my coach. I said, I don't know why, but I'm like nervous.
Do you feel like throughout this whole process, like when you would hit these plateaus, it was almost like God pulling you back in? Like,
yes.
Hey,
yes.
Sarah, like
every
remember,
single time,
like, like
without fail, every single time.
Yeah.
And I'm also grateful that my coach is also a believer, and a lot of the people I train with are as well. And I called a meeting before Myrtle Beach to talk to him. And I said, look, it's weird because I know what I've put in, I know what I'm capable of now, but I'm nervous. I don't know why. And I'm seeing it in my game and my practices. I'm plateauing, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm plateauing before my final event. And one of my girls that I train with, because this is like a group meeting, I asked him, I said, what do you think I should do? And my coach goes, okay, I'm going to go last. And so Katie, she goes, Sarah, the best I've ever seen you play within this past year was honestly when you had no expectations at all for yourself. And all you did was come in and chop wood and do the work. And in that moment, I realized, I was like, those were the moments that my faith was strongest. Because at the end of the day, winning and losing had no weight, glorifying God did.
Right.
And my prayers of, to make sure I'm glorifying you, it like really made me think. I'm like, when was the last time you really, really dug into that thought? Like you played and you practiced with that type of mentality.
What we do, it's so mentally part of it is physical, but a big part of it is also mental. And part of finding that mental strength and that mental stamina is by getting in with God and getting him to really just provide you like a drink of water, like for your brain. Is like, you can't starve your mental and spiritual side. And if you try and put all that weight on yourself, it's draining. And that's why God's are like, here's my hand, like let's go, like I'm here.
No. And I don't want to say prone to, but I can look back and definitely see that I am a child at the end of the day that needs multiple lessons.
We all are.
And multiple reminders. And so after that meeting I had with them, I go into Myrtle Beach with a more sound mind. Now, the week before, the girl that I was going to play with was not Courtney, but we had planned to play in this event like months prior. She's someone we met like through the networking and stuff like that. And I get a text Sunday night.
Oh, I remember this.
And she's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I know like everything is booked, but I'm pretty sure I just tore my ACL. And I was like, there's no way. And I went through so many emotions in that moment, and given probably selfish, because I mean, I was obviously concerned and asking her about it, but like, I'm human, unfortunately. And like in that moment, I was like, God, like I really wanted this opportunity. Like I was so excited for this event. And then I was trying to come to terms. I came to terms after processing it. And I said, you know what, God, you didn't want me to play in this event. I get it. And you know what? I'm gonna start my off season early. I'm gonna get back to chopping wood. I sent the message to my coach and I was like, do you think I should still try and play? And he said, he just goes, ask people that might be good. And I asked a friend that I met in Virginia if she knew of any blockers. And she said, actually, I have someone that is looking for a partner herself. And she's a 6'2" blocker. She used to be a setter. So super athletic. And I'm like, there's no way. And that same night, I get in touch with this girl and she's like, yes, I'm so down to play. So I literally was only partnerless for maybe 4 hours in that whole wave of emotion, and I was just praising God. I was like, thank you, God. And I go to practice and I go to Myrtle. And it's funny because God has a sense of humor. This girl was in a very similar situation to when I first started playing with Courtney and didn't have any points.
Right.
So we go in the last seed in this good event and we finish top 5.
Insane.
With someone I've never played with before. I didn't know if I was going to have any chemistry. Great person, great partner. Like it was awesome. And, I wasn't super happy with the top 5 finish because I thought we could have gone farther. But I really tried to remember, I'm like, you need to be grateful about this. You remember what happened last time. And so that night and after that weekend, I was like, God, you have been so good and I'm ready to get back to work. And I almost, rushed that again, rushed the moment of thanking him and remembering the purpose for this. And then when I got home, my parents got me from the airport and I was just recapping the weekend with my dad. And he goes, so you finished in the money this tournament? I said, yeah. And he goes, so you finished in the money every single tournament this season?
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh. I finished in the money every single tournament this season.
Yeah.
Like
for your rookie season.
For my rookie season. And that's when I was like, God, for all of my like complaining and just moaning about, poor me, sorry me, like you have been so good and so constant this entire time.
And that's the thing, it's the consistency. God is always there. And it's like, he may not give you everything you want, but he gives you everything you need to have the platform to glorify him. Because if it's of God's will, we talked about this. If it's God's will, it can't fail.
Yeah.
It can't.
It can't. It quite literally can't fail. The thing is, when you really trust him, your wants become your needs.
Yes.
Because he aligns you with it. And there's been so much, like, in retrospect, for me to look back on this past season and then go into the next season with. And I'm so grateful. I'm so excited to knowing what I know about our sport. I was talking about international play.
Right. Oh yeah.
Next year, because I have to start investing in that if I want to pursue an Olympic run in 2028. And my biggest takeaway is that God clearly, unfailingly knows what's better for me.
Absolutely.
Every minor detail was just so needed in my growth. And my prayer is that I continue to do this for right reasons, align with his will, so that I don't hit those same like hard times nearly as hard, because I want to be able to just say, you know what, it didn't work out because it shouldn't have worked out. And,
exactly.
And that's the mentality. Because if I can maintain that, nothing is ever going to be too much for me to handle. And that's another promise he has in the Bible, is that he never gives you more than you can handle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of little moments in my sport from this past season that are journaled, locked in, ready to take away into the next.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really looking forward to that.
And it's just exciting because I was having this conversation, the one with your dad I was having, and he was like, so how long do you think you want to play for? And I was like, well, honestly, I didn't even know if I was going to be playing now. So I will work as hard as I can so that if this is God's plan for me, I'm ready for it. But as soon as God says, you know what, it's time, okay, amazing, that's awesome, but I will work as hard as I can, as you work as hard as you can, so that when God gives us the opportunities that we pray for, we're ready for them, and we're ready to glorify Him through those things that we are able to do. And it's just amazing. And a verse I've been like really praying with a lot this recently is, I don't know which one it is, but it's the one that goes, He's the way, the truth, the life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
John. It's definitely John.
Yeah,
it's definitely John.
Jesus is the way, the truth, not just a way to follow. He is the way. He is the truth.
Yes.
He's not just an option of a way to follow or a life to live. A life in Christ, glorifying Christ, using what we have and have been given for the glory of God is not an option. It is the thing to do as Christians, as Christian athletes.
Exactly. Like, it is an option, but it's not going to be the one that brings you any type of like reward that's worthwhile.
Right.
For example, it was an option for you to go the bigger, grander, more about me path. But because of your decisions and your trust in God, you chose the path that you can see. You know, this was better for me. Not saying we don't know what would have happened if you went to Sweden, but we do know that you have so much to be grateful for from this past season.
Yeah.
There was a time in the midst of my season that's when I texted you and I said, hey, if you want to also read through Ecclesiastes.
Oh, amazing book, yeah.
Amazing book. That way, when we come back together, we could, do Bible studies and talk about it freely. But I was reading through Ecclesiastes, and Solomon's perspective of life and what he calls vanity on this earth was really, really soul healing for me, because it was a reminder that, one, only God knows.
Right.
Only God knows.
Yeah.
You can try and know. And there is even a point in other areas of my life, not just volleyball, that I was like, you know what, God, I'm getting really good at trusting you. And I'm almost anticipating, like, I know where you're going with this. No. Like, he stopped that immediately.
Real quick, yeah.
Like, so quick.
Okay,
let's play this game. And I was almost hurt. And he was like, well, I didn't tell you. He doesn't tell us what's going to happen. He guides us. And so I'm reading through Ecclesiastes and vanity, and Solomon is just going over, King Solomon tried everything, and he was, wealthy and had power. And so he was, quite literally in a position to try anything. And I'm not saying everything good. Like, he was trying
bad things.
questionable
things.
Yeah, very questionable things. Kings are also descendants of Adam. And so I'm reading it, and he's like, you could work, all you want. You can have all of this. You can buy that. You can have the relationships. You can have this. But at the end of the day, if it's not from God, like, it doesn't matter,
right.
And, the things of this world, they don't matter. So do what you need to do to glorify Him, to work hard for right reasons, to do all this, to gain the kingdom.
Right.
I'm not pursuing a top professional athletic career to gain anything worthwhile, because you know what? The kingdom is soon. Like, the ball will be put down one day, and that goes for every single sport. This world is temporary. Everything in it is temporary. So why not do something that's for something eternal?
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, as Christians, we work hard to gain those rewards in heaven. We pursue things out of acts of gratefulness.
Yeah.
For what we have short term.
Right.
But not because we believe that it's just more than life. Like, it's just worth more than what God, intends for us. And so, reading that in the midst of my season was really, really beneficial, because it was very easy to start getting stressed about what I was gaining and losing in all aspects of life, whether it be money or relationships or anything. Like, I was just getting tired, and it brought me back to reality of, you need to do this for Christ if you want it to work.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, like a lot of eyes on athletes. Like you have family, yourself, other people, coaches, agents, players, but it's with free will, we get to choose what matters and what opinions matter and what we're going to take with us. And we get to choose our identity in Christ, and we get to choose running that good race towards the kingdom. And the eyes and the opinions and the earthly pressures that we feel, and we do feel them because we are on earth, we're human, we're not God, but we get to choose to run the good race towards the kingdom, to get to the end goal of getting with Christ.
Yeah, exactly. I want, if I go before this, or like when I finally expire, I almost expire.
When that day comes.
Yeah, when I kick the bucket, I want here on earth,
right,
I want, the enemy to be like, thank God. Like, he's literally thanking God that I'm gone.
Right.
Because I was doing his will so well.
Yeah.
And I want to stand before Christ saying, I gave it everything I got.
Right.
And he said, I know. To me, that is going to be, the reward. And the more I trust in him, and I trust that that day is coming, like it's super interesting, because there are days now that I can really lean back and just say, like, that's going to be so awesome. Because I used to be so anxious. I was like, oh, what if I die before I accomplish this? What if I die before I accomplish that?
Right,
What if I don't leave behind this legacy? It's not about that.
No.
At all. I want to go out knowing that I loved the way that Christ intended us to love.
Yeah.
And that's what people remember. And I want to go and people say, you know what? She loved Christ, whether they believe in it or not. I want them to look back on my life and see the testimony and be able to say, he was real.
Yeah.
Even if they don't believe, he was real to her. And that's what makes, an impact.
Right.
That's how all of the Bible stories that we get to read today end. I want to be a book that people could read about.
Right.
And see God's hand in their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is really just my takeaways from what this past year has looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been I feel loved by you. I was living on your couch for a month. I'm living with you now.
Well, guys, thank you for listening in. If you liked it, like and subscribe. If you want to hear about certain topics from us, if you have questions, like please.
Yeah, ask.
That's what we're here for. We're here to normalize talking about our faith, on the platforms we were given. But we will see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.